Now let us see how we can start working with our structs and the inbuilt modules. So the first thing which I want to do is let us create a new folder inside our lib, and we can call that folder as structs. And inside of this folder, let me create one more file by the name of 7wonders. Let me collapse my sidebar and let us see what we can do with this struct. The first thing, as usual, we need to define our module. So this would be our tutorials.structs.7wonders. So let us create a struct by using the keyword of def struct. Here we need to specify the fields for our struct. So we can say that the first field would be the name of the 7wonders, and the second field would be the country of that 7wonder. Now we can do one slight improvement. We can also initialize the values right over here, and instead of just passing a normal list, we can pass a keyword list. So here we can say that the default value of name should be a blank string, and the same thing happens for the country as well. So in case the argument is not given, we want to initialize the country to be a blank string. Now let us see how we can also define the type specifications for our struct. Now for defining the type of our struct, we have to use the keyword of type. So let's define a type right over here. And let us call the type as T. So this is more like your community convention. Your T stands just for your type. And here we can specify that we want to specify that type for our tutorials.structs.7wonders. Now remember that the struct always takes the name of the module. And in this case, the name of our module is tutorials.structs.7wonders. So by default, that's going to be the name of our struct. And since this is a struct, let us use the right syntax. So we need to put our % symbol over here and our curly brackets. So now we have a struct. Now what we can do is, typing such a long name can be boring. So we can simply alias this. So let's create an alias at the top. So we can say we simply want to create an alias. And here we can simply take out all of these things. Now inside the curly brackets, let us define the types for the various fields. So the first field inside our struct of 7wonders is for the name, and here we can define the type to be of string. So we can say string.t, so the type of string. The next one we have for the country, and again the country is going to be of the type of string. So this is how you define the type specifications for your struct. Next, let us do one more thing. Let us create a list of all of the 7wonders. So for this, let us create a simple function called as all. So this function does not take anything, and this returns your list. Now inside this list, let us initialize all of the 7wonders. So we can say that the first 7wonder would be Taj Mahal. So since I'm from India, the first one has to be Taj Mahal, and we can say the country is going to be India. And let me just copy and paste all of the remaining 6 wonders. So now we have a nice list of all of the 7 wonders of the world. Next, let us see how we can also write the type specifications for this new function. So here we can use the module attribute of our specifications, and we want to define the specifications for the function of all. Now since this function does not accept any parameters, you can use the brackets or you can skip them. And here we can also define the return type. Now the return type is a list, and the elements are of the type of T. So right over here we have defined the type of T, and we have specified the different parameters for our struct, and that's what we are referencing right over here. Let me put a separator line over here. Let's scroll a little bit down and let us see how we can start working with our 7wonders. So here let us do one thing. Let us define a function called as print names. So what this function will do is, it will accept all of the wonders and it will simply print out the names of the wonders. So for example, if we see, we have different names. So we have the Taj Mahal, Petra, Christ the Redeemer, and so on. So what I want you to do for this function is, so this function is going to accept this list right over here. And for the output, we just want to see the names, and that's it. So let us see how we can implement this function. Now this time, instead of writing functions ourselves, let us see how we can use the standard library. So let me open up my terminal, and here the first module that you would like to check is the module of enum. So what I can do is, let us call help and let us see what are the different functions inside the module of enum. So if I put a dot and if I press tab, And we can see that this inbuilt module has a lot of inbuilt functions. Now I want to see the documentation of a very specific function, and that is this one for each. So here let me call the help on enum.each. So this function of each accepts two parameters. The first parameter is for your enum and the second one is for the function. And we also have a sample implementation. So here we can see that the first parameter is a list and we have a simple function. So what's happening is for each iteration, this function receives an element from the list. So for the first iteration, your x is the string of sum, and what this function is doing, it is simply printing it out. That's why we have the output of sum. For the second iteration, your x becomes example, and that is what is being printed out right over here. So let us see how we can use this inbuilt function for printing out all of the names for our 7 wonders. So let us go back to our code editor, and here what we can do is we can use the same function. We can say enum.each. Now our enum is going to be our list of our wonders. Next, let us define our function, and for the function, for each iteration we are going to receive one wonder from our list of wonders. So for each iteration, what's going to happen is we are going to receive a wonder and we have to do something with the wonder, and this is the end block for our function. Now since we just want to print the name of our wonder, we can actually pattern match right over here. Now we know that this wonder is going to be the struct of 7 wonders, and we can easily pattern match on our structs by using our map syntax. So let's do the pattern match right over here. So here we can say that for each iteration we want to pattern match, and we want to pattern match on the parameter of name, and we want to collect the name inside a variable called as name. And for each iteration we simply want to print it out, and let us put the variable of name right over here, and that's it. Let us open up our terminal. Let me go inside my IX. Now let me create an alias for our tutorials.structs.7wonders. Let me clear up everything, and here we can say that the list of all our wonders is our 7 wonders, and remember we have defined a function of all. So now we have all of the wonders. Let me clear up one more time, and next what we can do is we can again use the same module of 7 wonders, and let us print out the names. So this function takes one argument, and that is the list of all our wonders, and that's it. Now we can see that we have the right output and we get back just the names of all of our 7 wonders. Let us go back to the code editor, and let us also define the type specification for this function. So here we can say that the specifications for our function of print names. So the first argument is the list of all of our wonders. So we can say that this is a list, and the type is the type of t that we have defined. Now since this function is not returning anything, we can say that this simply returns an atom of OK. Also, if you want, you can also use the pipeline operator. So what I can do, let me take this one out, let me put it on this line, and on the next line let me use the pipeline operator. So by default our list of wonders is being passed as the first argument for the function of enum.each. Let me save this one. Let me open up my terminal. Let me again recompile everything. Let us try to run the same function one more time, and as expected we get the right answer back. Next, let us see how we can filter a single 7 wonder from our list. So here let us create a new function, and let me name the function as filter by country. Now this function will accept 2 parameters. The first parameter is obviously the list of all our wonders, and the second one is the name of our country for which we want to filter for. So for example, if the country is India, then we should get back this single 7 wonder. So let us see how we can implement this filter function. Here let me add my do and end blocks, and let me take this a little up. So again let us go back to our terminal, and let us see if we can find a filter function inside our standard library. So again let me call the helper documentation from our module of enum, and let us see if this module has a function of filter or not. So here it is, we have a function of filter. So let us see the documentation of this function. So this function of filter, this accepts 2 different parameters. The first is obviously our enum, and second parameter is going to be a function. And here we have a sample implementation. So as we can see, the first element is a list and the second argument is going to be a function. Now if we read the documentation, it is saying that this function returns only those elements for which your function returns a truthy value. So let's see what's happening inside this example. So here they have a condition, and whenever this condition evaluates to true, only that value is returned. So here we have a list of 1, 2 and 3, and this condition is only satisfied for the element of 2, and that's why we get back a list along with a single element of 2. So let's see how we can use this inbuilt function for filtering by the name of our country. So here we can take the list of our vendors and then we can pipe this argument to our enum.filter. Now again, by default, the first argument of vendors would be passed, and we simply need to pass the second argument for our function. This function receives a vendor for each iteration. So this is how it's going to look like. And here we need to specify a condition that will evaluate to a true. So here what we can do is we can again pattern match on this struct of 7 vendors. So let's do that thing. And this time we simply want to extract the name of the country. So let us pattern match on the field of country and let us collect the data inside a variable called as country name. Now next, coming to our truth condition, here we can say that we want to filter it out only when the country name is equal to the name of the country. So this parameter country is what is being passed to our function right over here. And this parameter of country name is what we are extracting by using our pattern match right over here. So let me save the file. Let us open up our terminal and let us recompile the module of 7 vendors. Next, what we can do is we can say we want to use 7 vendors dot filter by country. Let us pass all of the vendors, and next let us pass India and let us see what output we are getting. And as expected, we can see that we are getting the right answer back. Let us try one more time and let us try with Mexico, and again we are getting the right answer back. So again let us go back right over here and let us write the type specifications. So the specifications for our filter by country. The first argument is the list of the type of 7 vendors. The second argument is of the type of string, and the return type is the list, and this contains a single type. Well, that's it for this video. In the next video, we will continue with the different functions on our structs.